Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Joe Knows the 2021 NFL Draft Class, where today we are going to be covering the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the most famous organizations in all of NFL history. This is a team that has been to 8 Super Bowls, won 6 of them. That's like a 75% winning percentage in the Super Bowl. That's incredible. You guys have an incredible history, an incredible legacy. I greatly respect it and I appreciate you. You are wonderful. You're a wonderful group of fans, and I'm really looking forward to doing this episode with you, where we together are going to be covering your 2021 Pittsburgh Steelers NFL draft class. It was a good one. I liked it. I had a lot of fun really diving in deep in this one and reading up more about these players. Usually leading up to a draft every year for like 3 months, I'll read up a lot on players coming into the draft. I try to get to everyone. I probably get to around a good like 75% of the players out there. So sometimes I have to go and read up some more on some of the players I hadn't really been familiar with before. I had a really good time of diving in your class, and there was definitely a theme there. I'll get to it in a second, but I want to talk a little bit more about the Pittsburgh Steelers and what they mean to me. I'm a Giants fan. So what does that mean? Steelers fans, Giants fans, we have something very big in common. We have a link. And many of you probably know already what I'm talking about. But in case you don't, I'm going to give you a hint. Think classic movie. Okay. Okay. If that didn't do it for you, here's another hint. The last hint. Think Patrick Swayze, Liam Neeson. Did you get it? If not, I'll give you the answer because we have to move on. We are basically, well, I'm talking about the movie Next of Kin. And why am I talking about Next of Kin? Because we basically are kin, Giants fans, Steelers fans. Why? Because someone from the Rooney family, the owner of the Steelers, and someone from the Mara family, the owner of the Giants, got married a while ago. And they had 2 kids. One of them was actress Kate Mara, and the other one was actress Rooney Mara. So we're connected, we're kin, we're like a big family, and let's say we're friendly adversaries, if we have to put it that way. But it's pretty cool that we're connected by marriage, not by blood, but by marriage, and that's pretty cool too. That's very cool. I love it. We're like a big extended family over here: Steelers fans, Giants fans, and we don't really have any bad blood between each other anyway. So I think that's pretty cool. But you know what would have been really cool, I think, if Mr. Mara and Mrs. Rooney, if their second daughter, Rooney Mara, instead of giving her that name, which I think is a really cool name, they should have named her, what do you think of this? They should have named her Steelers Giants. Huh? They have one daughter, Kate Mara, and their second daughter, Steelers Giants. Can you imagine this introduction? Hello, meet my daughter, Steelers Giants. Well, I guess you're a big fan of the NFL, huh? Big fan. I own the NFL. That would be a great conversation. I'd love it. But before we move on to our juicy content on the Steelers, let me get the bells and whistles out of the way. And here we go. You can catch this show, Toilets to Titles and Joe Knows, at Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, and Facebook, where we have 2 pages, Toilets to Titles and When a Family Breaks. When a Family Breaks is our page where we're basically involved in trading of sports memorabilia. Check it out. I think you'll like it. Please take the time to hit that like and subscribe button. It takes a half a second, quarter of a second, just to push that little thumbs up. It helps our metrics. Our metrics help us get our show across to more people. We'd really appreciate it. And if you're watching it on Apple, or even if you're not watching us on Apple, if you could do us a big solid and just take a little time to go over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review, we greatly appreciate it. Again, that helps us out a lot. All positive metrics helps us get the show out to more people, helps us grow the show. And if you'd like to find out how you could further support the show, please go to patreon.com/toilets to titles. And that's where you'll find out how you can further support the show. So moving on to our content, you guys had, real quick before we go into the individual picks, you had a total of 9 picks, which included 2 in the 4th and 2 in the 7th. After the first 2 picks, I love those picks. I love those first 2 picks. They are Joe Knows types of players. Before we get to them, after those first 2 picks, it was all offensive line and defense. And you know what? That is how good teams sustain success. They're usually focused on the O line and the defense. That's how they sustain success. That's how good teams do it. And that is why the Pittsburgh Steelers have had sustained success for so long. You know, I was talking recently, over the past few days, over the past few weeks, to people just from other fan bases, and we're just having some frank and honest conversations about some of the teams that we've been reviewing. And quite a few of the people I spoke with felt that the Steelers were going to be taking a big step backwards this year, that they lost a lot of talent. Some of their other talent is older. And I understood where they were coming from. Me, myself, I think the Steelers have been so good for so long. They are one of the most competently run organizations in all of the NFL, along with the Baltimore Ravens. Those two teams are always in the thick of things. Even maybe when and if they take a step back one year, they come back roaring with a vengeance the next year. So my response was, hey, I understand where you're coming from, but really never count the Steelers out. And I mean that because I think when you think they're going to take a step back, I think they're going to surprise you. So look out for this team. I fully believe in them. I believe in Mike Tomlin. I think he's one of the best coaches out there. You can tell the players love playing from his team's always prepared. This is a well-coached team. They always are. And I'll believe in the Steelers until they prove me otherwise. Let's move on to these picks. And one last thing. I try to find a theme with every draft class for every team. And some teams are defense, some teams are like offensive line, maybe another team is offensive weapons, maybe another team is secondary. They load up on secondary picks. Your theme that I noticed, you had players from all different types of positions. I think the theme that I noticed with you guys was positional versatility. Out the wazoo. A lot of positional versatility with your picks. After the second round, a lot of these guys could play in multiple positions, and Joe loves positional versatility. Let's move on to your first pick, Najee Harris. And here is one of my favorite picks of the draft. Okay, in my opinion, and it's obviously not a stretch, I think most people would agree with me that this is the best running back in this draft. There are other good ones out there, but in my, whether it's Trey Sermon or Carter on the Jets, or take your pick. There were talented running backs in this draft. Other teams picked them up. In my opinion, Najee Harris is by far the best one. And I love that you got him. You got him in the first round, the 24th pick overall in the first round. You got a 3-down back. And this guy is, I don't know if he's going to be a 3-down back this year, but I think absolutely, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year he's playing all 3 downs. And if not this year, then definitely next year. But this guy is a legitimate RB #1, whether it's in the NFL or fantasy. I advocate for this. I've been advocating for this guy fantasy-wise now for the past month or so. I think this guy is going to be, maybe he won't be like one of the top 3 or 4 this year. I think this guy is going to be a mainstay with the Steelers, very productive both in NFL and fantasy-wise for a long time to come, or at least for the next 5 years. These guys tend to get banged up, so we'll see how it goes. This guy's got everything I'd look for in a running back. Apparently, kind of like the only one thing he doesn't have is he doesn't have blazing speed. I think that's, if you have blazing speed, I think that's, as a running back, I think it's a bonus. For me, what's most important is that you don't fumble the football. He doesn't fumble. You can be a 3-down back, meaning that obviously not only can you get the handoff first and second down, but you're also a legitimate receiving option. And on 3rd down, you could also protect your quarterback if needed. He does all that. So this guy is a legitimate 3-down running back. And I have absolute faith in this guy that I strongly believe that from day one this season, this guy, you're going to be hearing his name all the time. He's going to be a home run as a running back. And I think you got yet another great running back like you Steelers always seem to find and load up on. And I absolutely love Najee Harris. I think he's great. And I thought he was such a perfect fit for your team. With some of your running backs being banged up, moving on. I thought this was perfect. I thought this guy had Pittsburgh Steeler written all over him. Now, moving on, Pat Freiermuth. Joe loves the tight end position. I love the tight end and I love the safety, because when you have guys who can do it all at either tight end or safety, they have to do a lot. And you can find those guys who can actually do all that, whether it's as a safety, whether it's pass protection, run protection, being able to blitz. You can find that guy. That's a diamond in the rough. Those are rare when they can do all those. And those are the type of safeties you draft or you sign and you hold on to for as long as you can. With a tight end, for me, don't get me wrong, I love a Pitts. I love a Jimmy Graham in his prime. You name, great receiving tight ends. I love them. But for me, the type of tight end that I'd love to build around is an all-around tight end. That's one who is very good at run blocking, very good at pass protection, and very good, and maybe not an elite receiver, but a guy who can go out, find the seams, who can catch the seam pass, who can go and find the openings in his zone defense, and who can catch the ball when he's covered and when he's getting banged around out there. And he'll catch. He's got great hands, catch the ball. Pat Freiermuth is all of that. In my opinion, he's all of that. And I'm actually kind of surprised he lasted to the 23rd pick in the second round. I wouldn't have been surprised if he had gone in the back end of the first round. Actually, I thought the Ravens might take him. I actually kind of saw them taking Rashad Bateman all along. I felt like as long as he dropped to them, I thought he was a perfect fit for the at wide receiver for the Ravens because they badly needed help at wide receiver. But I was telling other people, don't be shocked if the Ravens had taken Pat Freiermuth, even though they're pretty loaded at tight end, because the reason being is that they do use their tight ends, and tight ends get banged up because they're, especially when they're good, they're deployed even more and they get banged up a lot. But Pat Freiermuth, he went to a great team. I thought the Steelers, he was a perfect Pittsburgh Steeler. Absolutely loved it. I think the value you got here was absolutely fantastic. And like I said, down here, down at the blue bar, he's my type of tight end. I love this type of guy. And I think he hit a home run with this pick. Moving on, Kendrick Green. Okay, now this is where we're getting into the positional versatility, because you got a guy, again, like I've been pointing out in my other videos, this is a deep class for offensive line. You went out with the 24th pick in the third round, and you got a guard out of Illinois. I like talent, not just offensive line. I like talent out of Illinois. I don't think you get too many premier players out there, but you get some tough, talented players out of Illinois. And I like those players. I think they tend to translate well to the NFL. You got Kendrick Green, guard out of Illinois, 24th pick, third round. This guy is a road grader. Now he's a third round pick and he's got to work on his pass protection, but you got a guy who can come out of the gate instantly and give you run blocking. This guy is a serious road grader who does have upside, who can develop skills when it comes to pass protection. So his first year might not be great, but I think I seriously think he can develop into being an all-around guard. But he's also projected to be able to play center. And I think off the top of my head, I think he actually did play some center at Illinois. So you got a guy who can play guard, you can play center. Offensive linemen are always getting banged up. And when you can move guys around, when you can plug guys in here and there, it means so much. And so I love this pick, third round, offensive line. When you can get a guy like this who can play guard and center in the third round, and it sounds like he's going to be starting somewhere down the road. If not this year, then a little further down the road, maybe next year. I think you did really well with value here with your third round pick. Moving on to the fourth round, you got Dan Moore Jr., another offensive lineman, offensive tackle out of Texas A&M. This guy, as I have in the blue notes over here, he was a 3-year starter at left tackle against SEC competition, and he's projected to be able to play both left tackle and right tackle, which usually a lot of times when guys are starting left tackles in NCAA, they're projected to either swing into guard or swing out to right tackle. But this guy's been a legitimate left tackle for 3 years in the SEC at a major program, at one of the top 20 or 25 programs in the country, Texas A&M. To me, that's a big deal. That shows a lot to me. So I think you got here in the fourth round a tackle who can possibly be, and I have as I have in my notes here, this guy is a guy who should be able to swing. All right, he's a swinger, baby. So he should be able to play left tackle, right tackle. He might be starting at one or the other, or maybe if he doesn't, he is a fourth round pick. If he doesn't wind up being a starter, every line needs depth. And it is key having a swing tackle, someone who can play adequately at either the left or the right tackle. And that could be this guy's floor. I think that would be his floor. I think his ceiling is legitimately starter at right tackle or left tackle. And he might never be a Pro Bowler. He probably won't. But I think he might wind up being a starter who you can roll out there every week and not have to worry about. Where, in other words, maybe you could do better if you wanted to draft someone, but you could also do worse, okay? So I think you're solid with this guy, Dan Moore Jr. I like it a lot. And you know what? Good teams, like I pointed out in the beginning, good teams with sustained success like the Steelers have had for a long time, a lot of times they focus their drafts on defense and the offensive line. And that's what you guys did yet again. And you're just killing it with the positional versatility. I absolutely love it. Next pick, another fourth round pick, the 35th round. I believe this is probably compensatory. It would make sense. 35th pick in the fourth round. Linebacker out of Texas A&M. Back-to-back Texas A&M picks. This guy's pretty solid. He's a physical linebacker. When I think Steelers, I'm thinking physical. So this guy, Buddy Johnson's got Steelers kind of like written over him. He was a leader on the defense at Texas A&M. That means a lot to me too. I like leaders, and you want to have that on the defense at any given time. You want to have that in the locker room. I love that. I think that's a trait that's very important. I'm not saying it's the most important trait, because some guys can just, maybe they're not leaders, or they'll just go out and they'll lead on the field and just go out and do the job. That's the most important thing. But if you're a leader, both on the field and in the clubhouse, the locker room, I think that's important. I gravitate towards players like that myself. This guy plays the run well. He sounds like a solid inside linebacker in the making. I don't know if this guy will be, depends what Pittsburgh wants to do and what they really value. Obviously, most defenses these days, I know with my team, the Giants, they value linebackers who can not just play the run, but can really focus on defending against the pass, actually. And but Pittsburgh may be a little different in terms of their linebackers, and this is a guy who is going to be at the very least very, very solid against the run game. So he might not be a 3-down linebacker, but he's a 4th round pick. He's a 4th round pick that could develop into a starter legitimately. And again, maybe not Pro Bowl caliber, but a guy you can possibly roll out there, not have to worry about. Maybe you can improve on down the road if you want to, but you could do it. But you could also do a lot worse than Buddy Johnson. I think that that's the type of player he'll wind up being. A pretty decent starter at best, someone who's not going to kill you, but I think, or at least a solid 2-down linebacker who can help in the run and stuff the run. This guy's physical. I like him. I think he did very well here. I like your 4th round picks a lot. And not versatile, but an inside linebacker. Not everyone has to be versatile. That's okay. Both your other picks, man, they are versatile. Speaking of versatile, we're going on to Isaiah Loudermilk. Now, I like this pick. I like this player, but there's something else I don't like about it. And I'll get to the it a little later down the road after describing him. Defensive end out of Wisconsin. The thing that stands out to me about this guy is this guy's size. Now, I didn't know all that much about Loudermilk. I'd heard the name. I read up a little bit leading on to the draft, but I didn't have my eyes focused on him too much. I read up more. I like him, and I think I see why Pittsburgh drafted this guy. I don't think his production was all that great at Wisconsin. I do like Wisconsin talent. I think more and more, there was definitely a long period of time there where I did not trust Wisconsin talent in terms of how they translated to the NFL. More and more, I think those players are getting better in terms of when they step on the NFL field, they actually give you high quality production. More and more, I see that with Wisconsin players. Isaiah Loudermilk, I think this guy's got a lot of potential. Again, he's a 5th round pick. Okay, so you're really picking these traits that could really stand out, and that some traits that you can't even teach. This guy's got. He's 6'6". Now, people might say, oh, well, a tall guy, really, what does that mean? It actually means a lot in the NFL and on defense, because having that length, having that height and that length gives you the ability, gives you more of a chance to reach out and touch someone or reach out and tackle someone that shorter players couldn't get. And also, if you're rushing a passer, you're an obstacle. I remember JPP was an obstacle. I think it was in Super Bowl 46 where Tom Brady commented on the sidelines where he felt like he was, throwing into a forest. And I think he was particularly talking about JPP, who was tall and had very long arms. You throw, even if you're not getting to the quarterback, he's going to pass in your direction. You put those arms up, you can deflect the ball, you can distract him. It means a lot. This guy sounded like, just what I was reading up on him, he sounds like a pretty good athlete. And I think Pittsburgh, I have a feeling they kind of targeted this guy for around this time, like the 4th or 5th pick, 4th or 5th round, and they got him in the 5th round. This dude is tall, like I say. He can play at defensive end, and he can play apparently a little on the inside. So again, we're talking about positional versatility. You're going to see most of him, playing him most of the time at defensive end or edge. He'll be playing at the end of the line. But I think this is a guy, when you want to load up a pass rush, they might move him on side, and he can pass rush from the inside as well. So 5th round, I found this to be an intriguing pick, and I like it. Now I want to talk real quickly about what I don't like. Steel curtain. Steelers, you're famous for your defense, especially for the famed steel curtain defense of the 70s. You had a bunch of badasses on that steel curtain, like Jack Lambert and Mean Joe Green, just to name off like the top names off the top of my head. Okay, here's the problem I have. Can you imagine, because I can't, can you imagine a guy named Loudermilk manning the steel curtain? I can't. I don't like the name. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound tough enough, to be honest with you. Let me give you an example. Listen, nothing against the name Loudermilk. I don't want to see like a Leonard Loudermilk emailing me and saying, Joe knows I come from a long line of proud Loudermilks. Nothing against the name, nothing against any Loudermilk, but there is a time and place for everything. And when you're talking about steel curtain defense, or I should say, steel curtain defense, steel wall, Loudermilk just doesn't cut it. I like the player, I don't like the name. So we have to come up with something different here. Here's another example too. Manning the steel curtain. Do you want John Wayne or do you want Marion Morrison? Because they're both the same people, right? That's actually John Wayne's real name is Marion Morrison, believe it or not. So there's a time and place for everything. You can have a John Wayne manning the steel curtain, but you can't have a Marion Morrison manning the steel curtain. Can you imagine that conversation when he was a kid at home? Marion, it's time for your meatloaf. Come on, Mom. You know I hate that name. Call me John Wayne. But why, honey? It's a beautiful name. Marion was your grandmother's name. That must have been great at John Wayne's home. I should say Marion Morrison's home when he was growing up. So I'm going to do you a solid here, Pittsburgh Steelers fans. We're going to give Loudermilk an alias. So he's going to be Isaiah the Barbarian. There we go. I like that one. Isaiah the Barbarian. Sound like Conan. Sounds tough. There we go. Better. 5th round pick. Isaiah the Barbarian, defensive end out of Wisconsin. I just did you a solid. If you ordered any Loudermilk jerseys, burn them or return them and get yourself a De Barbarian jersey. I can't even pronounce it, but I think it's a great idea. Just go with my ideas. Don't go with my mouth. On to your next pick, Quincy Roche. Very fancy. Roche, edge out of Miami. 6th round pick. The 32nd pick in the 6th round. Very intriguing. Now, this is a guy who other YouTubers, content creators that I follow, there were quite a few guys who actually liked this guy. They had him going like in the 3rd round, 4th round. I never saw that. I didn't like that. I thought 5th round would be good. I thought 6th round, he's a steal, and you got him in the 6th round. You got him a steal in terms of potential. This is a guy who actually played for 3 years at Temple, put up a boatload of sacks at Temple. Then his last year, he transferred to Miami, and he put up some good production there. But he went down, of course. I think he had like 4.5 sacks last year. So not great production. But then again, it was his first year going against top tier competition when he was playing for the U down in Miami. But he was also playing alongside some other, another really good edge rusher down in Miami. So, he wasn't going to be the star down at the program, but he was. But this guy is, I think this guy has a lot of potential. He is an athletic player. He plays the run well, and he can get to the QB. So those are some traits those aren't intangible traits like height, or speed that are already built into that you can't teach. But he is athletic, and that's something you can't teach. And he does know how to get to the quarterback. So this is a guy who's going to take, I think, some time to develop. But I think this is a great 6th round investment. And I think he can eventually turn into a legitimate starter, not just a solid player, but one better than that, like a really good player. He can develop into that. And I thought 6th round, this was a steal. I liked it a lot. You did really, really well. Trey Norwood, moving on. 7th round, cornerback, 6 foot, 192 pounds. You got him the 18th pick in the 7th round, quarterback out of Oklahoma. He has the body of a cornerback, of a CB, but he also plays safety. So again, positional versatility. And we're talking about a 6th round pick here. So we're probably not looking for an eventual starter, but you never know. But the main thing is that, like I said, we're being positive here and we're being realistic. Not everyone's going to develop into being a starter down the road. Okay. But you need backup players. You need guys who can at least be solid. You need guys who, when your starter goes down, you can throw in there and you can trust to at least hold the fort down for a little while, just to give you something so you're not getting destroyed and that you're not a legitimate, point of weakness for the opposing offense to attack. And Trey Norwood could develop into being something pretty darn solid. And he gives you that positional versatility, cornerback and safety. And he's got nice size. He's 6 foot, which is good height, pretty good height for a safety, for a cornerback. And he's 192 pounds, which is not thick. It's not wild, but he's not a string bean either. Okay. So I thought it was interesting. And your last pick, 27th pick in the seventh round. Joe knows I love punters and I love kickers. They don't get enough love, in my opinion. They don't get enough attention. But without these guys, we wouldn't even have the foot in football. And I love a good punter. I love it when it comes to a kicker. I want a guy. A strong leg is great, but ideally, at least when we get you, if you're going to kick a 40-yard field goal, be that kicker who nails it. That you can basically, when you're lining up for the kick, we as fans, we know this game's over. It's cemented because you're going to make that 40-yard or 44-yard kick. Okay, it's cemented. We don't have to worry about it. Be accurate. When it comes to being a punter, be able to boom the ball, but most importantly to me, I love directional punters. I think that's the most important thing. You want to pin the opposing offense as deep as you can and not give the returner, the punt returner, the kick returner, well, in this case, he's a punter. You don't want to give the punt returner a chance to return that ball, or at least not very far. So I love directional punters. I was a huge Jeff Beagles fan. He was our punter in Super Bowl 42. And we've had a few directional punters since then. And that's the type of punter that I like. So I like when a team invests a draft pick in a kicker or a punter. You know, it's like, this is a guy who's very well is going to be your punter for like the next 10, 12, 15, who knows, maybe 20 years if he's really good. Because punters, when they're very good, they tend to stick around for a long time. Same thing with kickers. So I called him Percy Harvin. Oh my goodness. Presley Harvin III, punter out of Georgia Tech. This guy could wind up being your next punter for 15 to 20 years. So I like that. I like drafting punters and kickers, and if they're good, they're around for a long time. You see them grow up. You get used to their name. They become part of that Steeler generation where they're around for a long time. I like this pick. He's probably one of the best punters in the class this year. I think you got the guy that fits you perfectly, because myself, I love directional punters, and that's what you did. So that's your last pick in the 7th round. Again, loads and loads and loads of positional versatility. I'm sorry, guys. This is the first show I've done in a few days. I'm a little rusty, and I'm a little excited to be back behind the mic. I actually missed it a lot, but work was really busy for the past few days. I had to focus on that. It's calmed down a little bit. I have some free time. I was looking forward to doing it, but I'm also overly excited to be here with you. So I got to slow it down. My mouth is going way too quickly for my brain. So anyway, that was the draft class here. I just want to get the Twitter profiles, the Twitter handles of all of my colleagues here at Toilets to Titles. They're a great bunch of guys. Follow them all. They're really into fantasy draft. They're really into NFL. We're trying to pump out as much content as possible, and more is coming your way. We have a lot of surprises for you guys in the next few weeks and the next few months. A lot of developments here at Toilets to Titles. And again, before we go, please hit that like, subscribe button, hit that bell, pound it, pound it, pound it. Give us that 5-star Apple review for a shot at a free entry to our Frankenstein League, which is our draft fantasy league that we've developed for you, the listeners, that we also play in here at Toilets to Titles. We play with you guys. We participate. It's a lot of fun. We have our own rules. It's different, and it's fun, though. And it's the first time that I'm going to be playing this year because I just joined. I'm really looking forward to it, but it's a lot of different. Check it out. And please, again, give us those positive reviews. All the positive metrics help us. It helps us boost the show, the profile of the show, to reach more great viewers and subscribers and NFL fans like you. So we're done here with the Steelers. I think we've actually wrapped up the AFC North, and soon we're going to be moving on to the AFC South next, probably tomorrow, I believe, with the Houston Texans. And for you Jets fans out there, I still owe you a Jets video. That one's going to be a little special, and that's why it's taking longer. That's why I've had to postpone it, because I want to do it right. I'm doing it right for you guys. Okay, everyone, have a great night. I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Take care, everyone.